Brandon, you kind of alluded to this a little bit. The Buffalo Bills have been knocked out of the first place in the AFC East. After a 4-1 start, the Bills have been playing pretty inconsistently. They're still in second place in the division, but they have had some questionable losses this year. Um, when they've been beaten, the quality of team hasn't quite. It's just made them look a little bad, and also just how they've lost those games. For example, a couple weeks ago, they faced the Jaguars, who to this point had only, or to this point in the season, still have only 2 wins. And the Bills in that game lost, and they only put up 6 points. On Sunday, they lost to the Colts, who are respectable at 6-5, but the Bills only scored 15 points while giving up 41. So, Brandon, my question to you here is: do you think this team has what it takes to pull it together and get back that number one seed from the Patriots?
Um, I want to say that they do. Like I've said from the beginning of the season, that this is the team that is probably the best in the NFL from top to bottom in terms of depth. Their play hasn't showed it. You're right. They've been super inconsistent. And I was looking through the record trying to figure out if there are any patterns or anything, but they're like beating great teams. Like they beat the Chiefs decidedly 38-20, and then they go ahead and they lose to the Jets, or not the Jets, the Jags. So I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's just inconsistent football. It's either when the Bills step on the field, they're going to score 40 or they're going to score 10. Um, and I'm not really sure why that is. But I still think that they stand a chance to be first in the East. I went through the Bills and the Pats schedule because obviously the Pats are the only other person in the AFC East that could potentially win the title. And I mean, I gave a best case scenario for both teams, at least in my mind. So they play each other twice still, obviously. So that's going to go a huge way. I did have them splitting. I don't know that the Bills can win both of those games, but I mean that still puts them at 11 wins, assuming that they lose to the Bucks as well. But they've also been a little bit up and down, so there's a few they could come up with, and they've got some other teams. Who knows how they're going to play? But I have them at an 11 win team on the rest of the season, and I generously have the Pats also at 11 wins if they split one with the Bills as well. So those two games are going to go a huge way. Obviously, the winner, if somebody clean sweeps that series, like the Bills versus the Patriots, then that's going to be the one that wins the AFC East. I think the Bills will come out on top. Um, I don't think their inconsistent play is indicative of who they are. I think we just saw the Chiefs go through a rough patch. I think we're seeing the Bills go through a weird patch where they're still trying to figure out, what their full playbook looks like. But I think they can still win the division. I would like it if the Patriots won the division, obviously, because that would secure a playoff spot. But I think they can still win it.
Jen, how about you? Do you believe in this team to pull together, or do you think they are kind of done for at this point?
I mean, it just seems like, there's a couple teams that are just going to have down years. And obviously, I think the Bills are just hitting a rough patch. They just couldn't find anything in the run game. Like everybody said, run game is what you win football games with, along with defense. They have a pretty decent defense, but it just the run games are just been terrible. You can't rely on Josh Allen's legs all the time. So he's not like Lamar Jackson or anything like that. So it just seems like the Bills are on a trajectory to to be that wild card spot or maybe even off the playoffs. But overall, I think everybody's just disappointed at the Bills when it comes to their play, and that obviously doesn't sit well. Bills Mafia, maybe if they don't make it to the playoff, they'll start throwing dildos on the fields again.
Oh, I love me a good Bildo. Um, I don't think they're going to be out of the playoffs. Like you mentioned, they might be out of the playoffs this year. If you look at their schedule, they have the Saints, which I have them winning, Patriots, Bucks, Panthers, Patriots again, Falcons, Jets. So I mean, in that stretch, they play the Saints, they stink. Panthers are average. Falcons and Jets, obviously they stink. So I mean, they've got a few easy games that they could win. That being said, they did lose to the Jags, so uh, I'm not going to put those in guaranteed win columns. I think they'll win them. But they do have an easy schedule to finish off the season.
Brandon, to your point, like this team's inconsistent player, like as you said, they have some what should look like easy wins moving forward, but who knows? Who knows with this team? They can lose easy games when we think they'll lose them. So when we think they'll win them, and then go ahead and polish off the juggernauts or the more difficult teams. So who really knows with this team?